Session of the 14th Sangguniang Panlungsod is about to begin. The Honorable Vice Mayor Jerry T. Aucason presiding. Please all rise.
We'll read from Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. We'll have our opening prayer. Let's remain standing for the Philippine National Anthem. Please be seated. The 95th regular session of the 14th Sangguniang Panlungsod will now come to order. Madam Secretary, kindly call the roll, please.
The following honorable members are present. Honorable Elvira G. Casal, Honorable Evangeline L. Esperas, Honorable Delisay T. Erpe, Honorable Thomas John M. Diaz, Honorable Leo Obahin, Honorable Brian Steve G. Granados, Honorable Edward I. Chua, and Honorable Eden C. Pineda. And Honorable Aurora Amy G. Grafil.
So we have
9. We have 9 members present, Mr. Presiding Officer. Therefore, we have a quorum.
We have 9 members present. Honorable John Bagulaya, together with Honorable Nikki Chua and Honorable Rachel Pineda will not be able to attend this afternoon session. So with 9 members present, we have a quorum.
Number 1 in the item of the agenda is the reading and consideration of minutes of the regular session held last January 5, 2021.
Madam Flor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Presiding Officer and my dear honorable colleagues. Since everyone has been furnished copies of the minutes of the January 5, 2022 regular session, I therefore move to dispense with the reading of the full text of the said minutes.
There's a motion to dispense with the reading of the full text of the minutes of the regular session conducted last January 5, 2022. The motion is seconded by all. Any discussion? Any objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
As a corollary motion, I move to adopt and approve the minutes of the January 5, 2022 regular session.
There's a motion now to approve as well as adopt the minutes of the regular session conducted last January 5, 2022. The motion is seconded by all. Any corrections, please? Any objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
Number 2 item in the agenda is the matters for referral to committees. We have 4 items. R 2022-14-552, request of Hilario A. Perante, Secretary of Palanog Tricycle Operators and Drivers Association, for a legislative franchise to operate a motor cab for hire with route area of MCH within Area 9, to be referred to the Committee on Transportation and Terminal Administration. R 2022-14-553, request to pass a resolution for authority to enter into a deed of conditional donation on behalf of the City Government of Tacloban, Doni, with the Salvation Army Social Services Incorporated, represented by its President, Colonel David O. Olang, donor, relative to the donation of a 3-story Community Livelihood Enhancement Program, CLEP, Livelihood Training Center building, to be referred to the Committee on Laws, Rules, and Privileges and the Committee on Livelihood and Cooperative Development. R 2022-14-554, Barangay Ordinance Number 004, Series of 2022 of Barangay 21, an ordinance imposing fees charges on barangay clearance, filing fees of any complaint filed with the Barangay Lupon, and for other purposes, to be referred to the Committee on Laws, Rules, and Privileges and the Committee on Barangay Affairs. R 2022-14-555, request of Mr. Eugene Tan, President of Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry Tacloban, Leyte Incorporated, to pass an ordinance extending the deadline for the renewal of business permits and licenses and the time of payment of taxes, fees, and charges without surcharges and penalties until March 31, 2022, to be referred to the Committee on Ways and Means and the Committee on Laws, Rules, and Privileges. Yeah,
maybe this referral 2022-14-555 can be taken up later, in the unassigned business, as there's a proposed ordinance extending the deadline for the payment of taxes, fees, and charges of all business permits and licenses without penalties, interest, and surcharges from January 2022 to January 31, 2022. We'll just take it off later.
Number 3 in the item of the agenda is the calendar of business. Letter A, unfinished business. We have 8 items. Under the Committee on Laws, Rules, and Privileges and the Committee on Barangay Affairs. Agenda number 14-511, Barangay Ordinance number 2021-09-13, Barangay 59, an ordinance on establishing and institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank.
No, we'll take up first agenda number 14-518. Just one. Agenda number 14-518. Madam Flor, who shall we recognize for this item?
For Agenda 518, please recognize the Honorable Eden C. Pineda.
Honorable Eden C. Pineda is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Agenda 14-518. Since this was passed and approved from the Local Finance Committee, I move for the approval of the supplemental budget for fiscal year 2021 of barangay numbers 1 and 4, SB number 2, 1 and 4, SB number 3, 5-A, 6, 20, 26, 28, 35, 36-A, 37, 38, 45, 53, 66, SB 2, 66, SB 3, 74, 78, 78, SK 103, Supplemental Budget Number 1, 103, Supplemental Budget Number 2, 107, 109, 109-A, and 1110. So I move.
There's a motion to approve the supplemental budgets for fiscal year 2021 of Barangay 1 and 4, supplemental budget number 2 and 3, then 55A, 6, 20, 26, 28, 35, 36-8, 37, 38, 45, 53, 66, supplemental budget number 2 and 3. Then 74, 78, 78 is the SK budget, the 79, 87, 88, supplemental budgets number 2 and 3. Then 90, 91, 94, 95, 95-A, 99, 102, 103, supplemental budget 1 and 2. Then 107, 109, 109-A, and 110. The motion is seconded by all. Any discussions? In objection, there being none, the motion is get approved.
Agenda number 14-519, Barangay Ordinance number 001, Series of 2021, a Barangay 5, an ordinance on establishing and institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank using the locally enhanced registry of Barangay Inhabitants and Migrant System, to be taken up by the Committee on Laws, Rules, and Privileges and the Committee on Barangay Affairs.
No, we'll take it up all.
Yes.
All.
Yes.
Ang nga tanan nila itong barangay.
Oo.
Kasi
Okay.
pareho la. Then,
Pareho la.
we'll ask the movant para iusala, makausa nila. Yeah, ha? Omnibus nila. Pero will motion to pass all. Kasi these are the same.
The same mo.
Same. Okay. Except for... Huh? Except for...
Except for the ordinances that that indicate the name of the barangay chairperson and the barangay officials who are part of the task force in the ordinance. It should just be the barangay
So we'll
chairman.
take it one by one. Agenda 14519 first. Sige.
519?
We'll ask the SP Secretary to just read all. Then we'll ask the movement to take it one by one.
Agenda number 14-511, Barangay Ordinance number 2021-09-13, a Barangay 59, an ordinance on establishing and institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank using the locally enhanced registry, a Barangay Inhabitants and Migrant System. Agenda number 14-512, Barangay Ordinance number 2021-10-13, a Barangay 59-A, Sampaguita Village, an ordinance on establishing and institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank using the locally enhanced registry, a Barangay Inhabitants and Migrant System. Agenda number 14-513, Barangay Ordinance number 2, Series of 2021, a Barangay 6-A, an ordinance on establishing and institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank using the locally enhanced registry, a Barangay Inhabitants and Migrant System. Agenda number 14-514, Barangay Ordinance number 2021-002, Series of 2021, a Barangay 96 Kalanipawan, an ordinance on establishing and institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank using the locally enhanced registry, a Barangay Inhabitants and Migrant System. Agenda number 14-515, Barangay Ordinance number 007, Series of 2021, a Barangay 95 Kaibaan, an ordinance on establishing and institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank using the locally enhanced registry, a Barangay Inhabitants and Migrant System. Agenda number 14-516, Barangay Ordinance number 27-2021-01, Series of 2021, a Barangay 27, an ordinance on establishing and institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank using the locally enhanced registry, a Barangay Inhabitants and Migrant System. Agenda number 14-517, Barangay Ordinance number 02, Series of 2021, a Barangay 8, an ordinance on establishing and institutionalizing the Barangay Database using the local enhanced registry, a Barangay Inhabitants and Migrant System. And agenda number 14-520, Barangay Ordinance number 001, Series of 2021, a Barangay 5-A, an ordinance on establishing and institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank using the local enhanced Registry of Barangay Inhabitants. All these items under the Committee on Laws, Rules, and Privileges and the Committee on Barangay Affairs.
Madam Floor.
For all these items, please recognize the Honorable Evangeline Esperas.
Honorable Esperas recognized.
Thank you, Madam Floor and Mr. Presiding Officer. Agenda number, is it 520 or 511?
511.
519.
519, 519.
511.
There's a 519 here.
So,
A Barangay 5.
Business for the day.
Sorry. 519. Okay.
Yes.
So, Barangay, agenda number 14-519 is Barangay Ordinance number 001, Series of 2021, entitled An Ordinance on Establishing and Institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank using the Locally Enhanced Registry of Barangay Inhabitants and Migrants System, or RBIMS. The Barangay Ordinance is laudable and enables the barangay officials to have database of their constituents, monitor their activities, and make appropriate responses to their immediate needs, especially in time of emergency and disaster. Some slight improvements may be made on this ordinance, such as just deleting the word "on" after the ordinance and to add the name of the barangay in the title of the ordinance. Thus, the title may read or shall read as an ordinance establishing and institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank using the locally enhanced registry of barangay inhabitants and migrant systems of Barangay 5, Tacloban City. So, it is also the observation of the committee that in section 5, the name of the barangay chairperson, co-chairperson, the focal point officer, barangay coordinator, and the member are stated therein. So the suggestion is for the SB to just name the members of the task force but not to indicate the specific person occupying the position. So the committee moves to remand upon review this particular ordinance for modification.
There's a motion to remand Barangay Ordinance number 001, Series of 2021 of Barangay 5. Entitled An Ordinance on Establishing and Institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank using the Locally Enhanced Registry of Barangay Inhabitants and Migrants System for modifications. The motion is seconded by all. Any discussion? Any objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
Thank you. Barangay agenda number 14-520 is Barangay Ordinance number 01, Series of 2021, entitled
11 na. Agenda 14-511.
520.
No.
Agenda 520.
No. No.
520. How about the 511, 512?
That will be the next.
So we'll jump to 520 first.
Because that's what
SP Secretary, what's the item that we will take up now?
520, diba?
There is
520.
agenda number 14-520. Barangay Ordinance number 001, Series of 2021 of Barangay 5-A.
So we'll take it up after
519.
519 for the business of the day.
Yes, that's what is in the folder.
Ito yung ba maniniya dito?
Dapat unfinished business.
Yeah, that's why kanina I was reading kanina the unfinished business and
Unfinished business.
I was caught.
So this is for business of the day.
Yes, I was about to tackle 511, but then somebody said it's 519.
So we'll take up Agenda 14-520.
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes, okay, sige. Please proceed. So Agenda 14-520. Okay.
Yes, so it's Barangay Ordinance Number 1, Series of 2021, with the title, An Ordinance on Establishing and Institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank Using the Locally Enhanced Registry of Barangay Inhabitants and Migrants System. So the committee has the same findings as Barangay Ordinance Number 1 of Barangay 5. And consequently, the committee has the same recommendation, which is to move to remand Ordinance Number 1, Series of 2021, entitled An Ordinance on Establishing and Institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank Using the Locally Enhanced Registry of Barangay Inhabitants and Migrant System, or Barangay or RBIMS of Barangay 5-A, Tacloban City, for modification.
Yeah. Again, with the same
findings.
recommendations.
Yes.
That they will not put the names
Yes.
of the task force.
Of the position, occupying the position of the persons occupying the position of the barangay chair,
Okay.
barangay guard focal person, secretary, service point officer,
Okay.
health worker.
And the title, make sure that they take out the on.
Yes.
And they put in the name of the barangay itself. So there's a motion to remand Barangay Ordinance Number 01, Series of 2021 of Barangay 5-A for modifications. The motion is seconded by all. Any discussion? In objection, there being none, the motions can approve. Sige, we'll proceed
Agenda
to
number 14-511.
511. So please proceed.
Is Barangay Ordinance Number 2021-09-13, entitled An Ordinance on Establishing and Institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank Using the Locally Enhanced Registry of Barangay Inhabitants and Migrants System. So the committee finds and makes suggestion to delete the word on after the ordinance and to put the...
But apparently in all section 5 of the ordinance, they have put their names.
Yeah, but when the time comes that they are no longer the ones occupying the position, then they will have to change the ordinance.
No, because in the previous ordinance, we asked them to take out the names.
Yes, this time I'm not finished.
So this
with
one is still the same. Apparently,
No,
all ordinances.
No. This one did not mention.
Okay.
So in this particular ordinance, only the title is suggested to be modified to just delete the word on and to put the barangay, name of the barangay in the title. So if it's Barangay 59 Picas, Tacloban City, then Barangay 59 Picas, Tacloban City should be included in the title. And the section 5 is correctly stated. The barangay chairperson is the chairperson. There are no names therein.
Of 511?
Yes.
Yes.
54, ano yan? 511, 514 manadi. Sus, Mario.
Yan. Can we have a 1 minute recess, please? We'll fix everything.
I'm looking at... So,
Sige.
okay. So this is the ordinance of Barangay 59.
Yes.
And the suggestion of the committee is to delete the word on after ordinance and to put Barangay 59. And 59 is Picas, ano?
Okay.
Tacloban City. Because in section 5, they are correct in just writing or stating the positions and no names of the occupants.
Yeah.
So the committee moves to approve upon review ordinance number 2021-09-13 of Barangay 59
Yeah.
with the slight corrections.
Yeah, before we proceed, do we have a copy of the executive order na?
Yes.
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 Can we be given also a copy, huh? Or we can discuss it. So I think that would be discussed later. Huh?
Yes.
Okay. So, was everyone furnished a copy of the executive order? Sino may kopya? Only Honorable Esperas. How about the other members? Maray pa. Sige. Can we have a 5-minute recess, please? So we're still on agenda number 14-511, which is the barangay ordinance, barangay 59.
Barangay 59.
59. Okay.
So I would like to reiterate my motion. The committee moves to approve upon review Barangay Ordinance number 2021-09-13 of Barangay 59, an ordinance establishing and institutionalizing the Barangay Data Bank using the locally enhanced Registry of Barangay Inhabitants and Migrant System, or RBIMS, of Barangay 59, Tacloban City.
Yes, as stated, for pass a resolution approving upon review the barangay ordinance number 2021-09-13 barangay 59. Okay, so the motion is seconded by Honorable Erpe. Discussions. Honorable Edmund Chua first, followed by Honorable Eden Chopinel.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, I do have a few questions regarding this ordinance. For Section 8, it does mention that it's supposed to monitor the movement and probably activities within the barangay, the movement of people. What type of movement or activity is being referred to in this ordinance?
Migration from one barangay to another. So people who come to migrate to Barangay 59 are the ones that are being monitored, and also those that are going out. So they will know that they are already gone and out of residence.
I see. So, are the residents or are the people who are supposedly about to transfer supposed to report to someone before they move? Who will monitor them?
It's usually the task force, and the task force membership. They have a certain service point officer or the barangay coordinator, but there is also a health worker, nutrition scholar, who are members of the task force, and the barangay chairperson and the God focal person.
I see. It does. In Section 6, I don't think it does mention that they're supposed to monitor the task force, I mean. But it does mention in Section 7 that they are to... Section 8, they are supposed to ask for the help of the Purok leaders. So who is supposed to monitor exactly, the task force or the Purok leaders?
The Purok leaders, of course, will coordinate with the task force, or the task force will coordinate with the Purok leaders.
After they confirmed that there was movement within the jurisdiction of the Purok leader, who are they supposed to report the movement to? And who exactly is supposed to input the movement within the system? Is every member of the task force allowed to input certain data within the system, or are they only supposed to be able to view the data?
They are the ones to collate the data that are being gathered by the barangay-based workers like the barangay service point officer, barangay BHW, barangay nutrition scholars, and barangay council. But all the data will be kept by the barangay secretary.
Barangay secretary. I see. So, what type of data is actually being collected? Since according to Section 7, baseline data collection, they will conduct a one-time house-to-house data gathering, yet they do not mention exactly what type of data is to be collected.
There are different data which I provided the presiding officer, demographic data, health data,
Demographic data and health data.
health data, nutrition data.
We were supposed to, for the chair, we were supposed to invite Ma'am Esquivel, supposedly to explain the whole system from the data gathering, the purpose and all. Is there any reason why she's not able to be with us this afternoon?
She just sent word that she is not available.
Yeah.
But then she forwarded to me those documents showing the activities that they have had and the kinds of data that are being collected.
But there is no sample of the survey form. What is sample did it?
Yeah, but they are here. I guess I'm here.
Already did it?
Yes, it's here.
Maybe it's with the proponent. Huh?
So, the basic information gathered through RBIM are the following basic demographic characteristics like age, sex, employment variables like employment status, education variables like highest educational attainment, health indicators like vaccination, family planning, and health insurance, migration information like previous residence, reason for moving, migration intentions, and household information like tenure of lot and housing unit. So it's parang comprehensive, or things that will really give much information about the citizens, so that if the residents need some health intervention, they can easily be located and be, let's say, motivated, like vaccination. Then family planning, how many are using the contraceptives or the family planning method, and if they have health insurance. And if it is something on employment, then the barangay will know that these people do not have regular employment, or they're just relying on, let's say, odd jobs, or maybe they have stores, or they work in the market, and so on and so forth. And for household information, they will know if the residents own the house and the lot that they are occupying, or they're just renting, or they are merely leasing, and so on and so forth.
Here in number 18, they have the customized mobile application survey questionnaire. Apparently, they have a tablet base. The
yes,
proponent has seen the
think
app already.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay. Apparently, they might be using the app already in a phone, or a tablet that they go around, that they fill up.
Yes.
I do not know if that's, but they have an app here.
Yes.
Then, if you put it in the app and data, so dito an app, how do you transfer it? How do you transfer it to the central database ba without violating data privacy?
It's like the one explained to us by, remember that time that we had a guest? Was it, I think also Honorable Edmund was asking questions.
Regarding security.
You know, it's when it comes to this one, I don't know.
Citizens.
Yes, that's
The elderly.
Like citizens.
No, the
I think it's the same principle.
but they're not using the same system, di ba?
I don't really know about that.
Okay.
I'm not savvy.
Because it is important for us to know how they're supposedly going to secure the system, since if it is online, That's one of my other questions about security. And then the other question would be, who developed the application? Is it the city or is it the POPCOM?
POPCOM.
POPCOM.
The POPCOM.
Yeah, kanan-
Actually, this is the
kanan
the
MIS
POPCOM,
ini,
the project
MIS.
of the POPCOM.
It's an MIS city develop eh. Apparently, because MIS is there eh. Part of the executive order is MIS.
However, I think there's one ordinance here that states that it's a program developed by the city and not by POPCOM.
I think when they say city, it's more or less the
POPCOM.
The POPCOM.
I see.
The department in charge.
I see. So it does mention that it's supposed to use the GAD budget for funding.
No. It's the city MIS. In the executive order, when you put the functions on page 3, the City Management Information System Office, responsible for the development, enhancement, management, and maintenance of the registry of barangay inhabitants and migrant system. In other words, at the end, probably heret makapot ang database.
That
Maybe, ha? I'm reading from what's provided.
Yes.
Just says that assist in the conduct and orientation and capacity building activities for barangay RBIMS enumerators. Provide technical assistance to enumerators during the conduct of households enumeration for baseline data gathering. Assist the city population office in importing the data from the barangay to the RBIMS server. So in other words, may server.
yes.
Central server siguro that will hold all the data from all the barangays na.
Yes.
I see. So is the central server allowed to view the data? Because according to Section 9 in confidentiality of information, only the chairperson, the co-chairperson, the focal point officer, the barangay coordinator should have access to this data.
Yes, there is only one person who takes care of the privacy thing.
Only one?
So the
One or-
data will not be
They have
in the
a-
barangay only.
Yes,
Oh.
there will be a central server. Would that not violate Section 9 of confidentiality of information?
No, I think they have some precautionary measure. It was just not explained to me, but there is only one person or so who has that responsibility.
Only one person. Who?
But where will be the server located?
I don't really
And
know.
who has access to that server?
Yeah, and who will have that access to that server? That will get all the 138 barangays
Yeah, all
ang iya database
confidential.
na.
All confidential
Ano?
information.
Will that be available online in the barangay nga pwede nera i-access in the barangay paret era barangay la? Oh. Now, 2-minute recess, please. Session resumes. Do it fast, ha? Sige. Honorable Edmund Chua.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So I was informed by Ma'am Esquivel that well, they have yet to identify the person who is supposed to secure the data within their office, and it has not yet been finalized which office will handle the access to that server.
Yeah, apparently from the executive order, you will. It's obvious that it probably be left in the MIS.
MIS.
But then it should have been the MIS, but it should be handled in the, if it's data to be used by the city POPCOM, it should be there in the
Yeah.
city POPCOM. In the same way with the data being gathered by the CSWDO, they have their own database.
Yeah.
Oh, so I do not know where they also keep the database of the CBMS. Is it under a central server as well in the MIS? Then how do you
Yes.
access from, if you're in the barangay, how will you access that data? Since, without violating the
Confidentiality.
data privacy law lang. So I think the MIS would be in the best position
They will know how
to
to.
inform how they will go about it in protecting. Kasi kung di rin natin ma-assure it aton constituents in the barangay that their data being gathered are secured, masasayang ini nga programa.
Yeah.
Kasi diri magsusumaterang kamatuoran dito ha barangay. Kasi tunahon na nila gagamiton it era mga data ko bagay mga studio, especially nauusit mga scams yan na. So it might be used for any other activities in what's happening now. So madi-defeat its purpose in nga programa mangod, which is program itself is laudable kasi we need that in our city popcom. But we have to assure the constituents in the barangay na ini data nga kingagather ha era are secured. Kasi if it's not secured, then di na hera sumatliwat.
That's
which that defeat, because if they don't tell the truth, then ito nga data kukolek na aton mga enumerator, masasayang manggod. Kasi di rin magiging truthful and honest it aton mga pamilya once we don't assure them. So I think our discussions has laudable program, no question about it, of City Popcom, is to ensure an atong constituents that the data being gathered nangangain inihiya, and then who will access ini, who has the authority to access this data, para they will be truthful in sharing those data to the enumerator down the line. Kasi this will happen in all the barangays. Although ini per barangay let ordinance. But I think all barangays are enjoined to pass the same ordinance. Then
That's
who will
true.
be the example? Who will now be the barangay? They have a name for that. Here, barangay coordinator.
Yes,
The barangay
coordinator.
RBIMS coordinator.
Yes.
Who is that? Kasi shall submit quarterly report to the city population office on or before the last day of the last month of every quarter for updating of their RBIMS database. So itong report, is it the whole data survey?
The ones gathered.
Or report lang like how many ang nagbalhin na, how many ang sumulod, something like that ba? So
What, Mr.
yes,
Presiding
the
Officer,
proponent.
Who is this? Mrs. Kibel informed me that right now, since they don't have a technical person yet, they are relying on the assistance of the IMS, but they will really see to it that someone from their office shall acquire the expertise, and he will be the one to take care of the one that you were mentioning. So right now they're relying on the MIS, but later on they're trying their best to have someone from their office. So ultimately it will be at their office. Maybe someone who will be trained by the MIS.
Hopefully every office
Yes.
will have their own IT guy or division to handle
Yes.
those database being collected.
Like our Sanggunian.
Yes.
We need also someone
Yes.
to take care of the
take care
IT.
of our IT.
Yes.
Sige. Yes, any more questions from Honorable Edmucho?
Yes, Mr. Presiding Officer. So, with the data obtained from the barangay, it does mention that it's supposed to help in improving, the crafting of local policies and programs. Can anyone give me an example of a particular ordinance that would use or utilize this data being collected by this system? And how exactly will it improve in the crafting of that ordinance?
Maybe ordinance coming from the barangay or our ordinance?
Barangay.
Barangay. Really, if a problem involves health, then the one in charge of Committee on Health may be able to craft an ordinance that will address a health concern in that barangay. If it's something on employment or livelihood, then it's really up to the barangay officials to craft an ordinance in the same manner that we in the Sangguniang Panlungsod, each one of us in the committee thinks up of something that will address certain issues that crops up in the city.
I see. It would definitely
But
be nice.
more on, I think, the program of the, let's say, DSW, CSWD, program on nutrition, program on the peso, maybe are the ones more involved.
I see. So, another question. In Section 10, in the funding, I did notice that they're supposed to get the funding from the GAD budget. I guess my question would be, how is this program or this ordinance related to gender and development?
No, gender and development actually seeps to every department of the LGU. All of the departments, even Sangguniang Panlungsod, makes use of the Gender and Development Fund. So it's the Gender and Development Fund is not just limited or concentrated in one department, but it is spread out through the different departments.
So, this ordinance is related to gender?
Everything in the system has some gender and development, how do you call it,
Related
component.
data?
Yes.
I do wonder, since earlier it was mentioned that the data being collected is more on sex and not gender of the individual.
No. For demographic, there is age, sex, but for the other kinds of data that I mentioned, like employment, even in employment, there is gender and development involved. Especially that there is an equality, equal opportunities for men and women in regard employment.
So it's not sex
No, it's
that's
not.
being collected,
No.
but gender.
No, that's
Yet
right.
the database is a sex-aggregated database.
No, only
Maybe
because they
it-
expanded. They expanded. That's why you'll see enhanced. Kasi now, apparently, based on page 14 of what was submitted by City Popcom, supposedly now the year 2020 was supposed to be the survey period for the RBIMS.
Yeah.
But we were faced with this pandemic. So what was accomplished for 2020 and 2021 was the finalization of the RBIMS application only with the support of the Management Information System Division, integrating some relevant concerns of other offices now. So di lang yung magiging kanan Popcom nga mga indicators.
Others.
So, like City Health Office, City Nutrition Office, City Civil Registrar's
Registrar.
Office, and City Planning and Development Office, after series of consultation, series of consultative meeting with RBIMS Technical Working Group members. So in other words, upod na nera ang iba nga kinala
Opisina.
makolek kan iba nga opisina.
Yes.
So ito naging enhanced na kuno ya. Kasi previously itawag nera hini nga programa is LMIS. Local Migration Information System. Oo. So they enhance it now to the RBMIS, no? Oo. Pero nag-survey na hera in 2019 based on the report submitted. Barangay 43A, Barangay 12. So may dana nera ito, kinihimo nera, but it's more of the migration lang. So now they are including more data as being asked by the other offices as well. Oo.
I see. Another thing I would like to point out, Section 4, it does mention the definition of transient, but the word transient was not used within the ordinance. I could have just missed it, but I didn't see the word transient being used.
That's okay.
In that barangay ordinance, In the other ordinance,
I think all of them
all
have.
the other ordinance like 59-A,
They have
a definition
Yes,
for
they have a
transient.
definition. Yes.
A person who moved from one geographic or political area to another involving a change of usual residence and residing less than 6 months in the present address. In the other barangay ordinance.
Yes, but it was not mentioned in the
In
ordinance.
barangay 59.
Anything related to a transient.
So there's a definition but no
There was no use for the word.
it's okay, I think, even if you put a word there. But I think in all, the ordinance really would somehow refer to transients, those who are migrating.
So parang implied. Okay. So, considering that our national and local election is basically fast approaching, we are apprehensive that whatever data will be gathered from the barangay might be used for, well, election purposes, maybe, but probably not for the crafting of local policies and programs, which kind of makes the timing of enacting this ordinance a bit questionable, but I could be wrong.
Any further discussions? Honorable Eden Chua Pineda. Then we'll, after this, then pagkitaon iba-iba, papreho naman lain.
The same.
I think
Sige.
the Honorable Edmund has question.
Yes.
Do you have the question that was not yet answered by the proponent?
Regarding security,
Huh? Is it answered?
not exactly.
I think the biggest thing, the stumbling block here is really the security of the data lang.
Yes,
To
exactly.
ensure that there's no breach of any data being collected by the enumerators lang. Then who will hold the key? Who holds the key to all this data? Kasi this will be collated in all the barangays lang. I think that is a serious concern. Hopefully that can be answered by
They
the
will still
proponent
decide.
or the city PAPCOM.
They will
Kasi
still
once you
decide.
implement the ordinance itself and all, di na magkakaano when as you say, the rubber hits the road, no? Dito na magkakasabtan na how they do the gathering of data and how do they maintain and secure the data. Honorable Eden Pineda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So may we know also what is the legal basis for the creation of task force under Section 5 of the respective barangay ordinances? Because in Section 394D, letter 6, it is the duty of the barangay secretary to keep an updated record of all inhabitants of the barangay containing the following items of information: name, address, place, and date of birth, sex, civil status, citizenship, occupation, and such other items of information as may be prescribed by law or ordinance. Under Section 394, letter D, number 6, does not mention of a task force composed of the barangay chairman, chairperson, barangay guard, focal person, barangay secretary, barangay service point officer, barangay health worker, and barangay nutrition scholar. So the creation of the said task force is also questionable. So as I was informed, there was an EO that was created. So my question again, ano luwat in gipapatamakan han EO para mag-create han task force?
So the
proponent.
ordinance has legal basis of Republic Act number 7279 and the Local Government Code, plus the joint memorandum circular of the the joint circular of the PAPCOM and the DILG. So in the Republic Act 7160, cited by the Honorable Eden Pineda, refers to the duty of the barangay secretary. So the barangay secretary, one of the duties is to keep the record of the barangay residents. such as the age, the sex, and other information. That's the duty of the barangay. But in Republic Act 7279, which is an act to provide for a comprehensive and continuing urban development and housing program, establish the mechanism for its implementation, and for other purpose, it is mandated that the LGU shall provide a mechanism, it shall provide a mechanism of promoting or of implementing the recording, the registration of movement, population movement. It will, the local government unit under Section 37 shall set up an effective mechanism together with appropriate agencies like the POPCOM, Population Commission, the National Economic and Development Authority, and the National Statistics Office to monitor trends in the movement of population from rural to urban, urban to urban, and urban to rural areas. They shall identify measures by which such movements can be influenced to achieve balance between urban capabilities and population, to direct appropriate segments of the population into areas where they can have access to opportunities to improve their lives and contribute to national growth, and to recommend proposed legislation to Congress if necessary. So this is the mechanism which the LGU has deemed to be effective in coordination with POPCOM in monitoring the trends in the movement of the population. So that's the one of the legal basis. So even if under the local government code, it is the job or the duty of the secretary to record data about the residents, the LGU is not precluded from establishing or setting up an effective mechanism to monitor movement and migration. So that's why the local chief executive has issued an executive order number 2021-07-029, which is an executive order establishing a local database in Tacloban City using a locally enhanced registry of barangay inhabitants and migrants system, or the RBIMS. And yeah. And he was, I think it was on the request of the city population officer for him to issue such an executive order.
From the chair. If you read the whereas clause of the ordinances, apparently the goal or the purpose, example, Section 4 of Executive Order 2021-07, which is the basis, no? Issued by the city mayor, mandates all barangays of the Tacloban city to establish its own database using the locally enhanced registry of barangay inhabitants and migration, or the RBIMS, developed by the city pursuant to the objectives and all. Whereas the establishment of barangay data bank will enable the barangay to establish an updated and reliable barangay information system which can be used by the barangay council in crafting policies, programs, projects, and for the welfare of the residents. And supposedly, and all these things are barangay based. Yeah. So amo ito nga, whereas in local government code and barangay secretary, amo na keep an updated record. So wherein all the data are kept in the barangay la. So kung may kinahanlan, napakatuhirat barangay secretary. Hino nagbalhin na yan na, hino nag-migrate yan na. So may danera ito nga data. Oh, but apparently in this system now, which is being initiated is that the data collected will now go to a server. So ang barangay nga manginginhalan data ng resident, heranet ma-access dito han central server. So all the barangay will now go to a central server. And the barangay will now access. Whereas before, ang data are kept in the barangay for barangay purposes lang. I think that's the difference there. And now, ang atula din is if that will happen, now the data will be given to a central server of the city, then access by the different offices now. Kasi may manera mga kipapadayon nga mga indicators. A civil register, city planning, and all the other city and city nutrition office. So it's now in that one.
Yes.
So pag access la nera ng barangay na it ma-access supposedly from the central server now. So the data, the collection of the data, and the maintenance of the data, di rin na habarangay la. It will now be in the, if you read the EO,
central
may central server na, hangkanan city. So this is the difference. Amo ito terking gagamit, mga tablet na, they'll input the data, then i-collate ito nga tanan. From all the 138 barangays, it will be sent now to a central server, which if you read the EO, apparently MIS, no? Amulanit makaput ito, will become now the repository of those data bank. So may the barangay, probably, may the nagyapon ditohan MIS. So apparently, that's the way I read, that's how I see it. Based on the EO and based on the whereas clause. Yeah, the proponent. Yeah.
Yes, I would like to reiterate my
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah. Yeah. Honorable Pineda, you have any other questions?
May I continue, Mr. Chair?
Then we'll finish it up.
That is why I am asking for the legal basis, because if that would be the case, iba ran aton na kapot, na hold han aton information, it's no longer the barangay secretary, but the main kuan na di na ha depository na MIS. Would it not be considered as illegal because that would violate the privacy law? Because there is no ordinance even from the Sangguniang Panlunsod that the MIS is allowed to hold the information. And anytime, pwede nila ito ipagawas na information.
Pwede magamit.
Yeah.
That's the
So
key
how
there,
can we
no?
be sure? How can we be protected?